Okay, people, listen up. Now, the camera's going to follow him right through here into that office over there. Now, I know top business guys and consultants like this one don't host videos every day. But please, just relax, say hello, make him feel welcome, and... Okay, here he comes. So act natural, be friendly, and roll tape.
Hi, everybody. Who are you expecting, Donald Trump?
I'm glad to meet you.
Hi, Tim Harrington.
We love you. Stand back, everyone. Is everything okay? What will you be talking about in there?
Actually, about how to communicate with people with disabilities.
Did you think of that all by yourself? Oh, that's so wonderful.
You really need to see this video. Really. Like 200 times. I wish I was Donald Trump. Imagine when I could pay myself to host this video. Is this okay?
Yes, that'll be fine. Sorry about that out there.
It's okay. Let me just try this.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Tim Harrington, living proof that America's workplace is changing. More and more, America's 49 million citizens with disabilities are getting an opportunity to show their abilities in regular mainstream jobs. That's a lot of new talent coming in, but the key to realizing that talent is creating an environment on the job and off that lets that talent flourish, just like anyone else's. Wait.
Cut.
This is great, but we're not talking about the Garden of Eden here. All we're asking for is a little common sense, common courtesy, and here's a few things to keep in mind. That's why we're calling this show Simple Respect, 10 Easy Tips, right?
Oh, hey, Mr. Harrington. About the title, the producers decided we needed something a little more dramatic. So they came up with something new.
Oh, really? Like what? The 10 Commandments? Do you think I'm Charlton Heston?
No, you're still Tim Harrington.
You're sure?
Yes.
All right. You know, if anyone out there feels a little uncomfortable with me as host, it's okay. In fact, it's natural to feel a little uncomfortable with people in situations you're not familiar with. But today, you'll be getting to know a number of people who, well, they're different from you and from me, at least in some ways, but they're just like us in others. You'll see the kinds of situations these people face every day and get some tips. Okay, commandments on how we can all help.
Cut.
Okay, now we go to the first commandment.
Yep.
We have to?
Yep. It's written in stone.
Commandment number 1. Speak directly to the person rather than through a companion or sign language interpreter.
This happens a lot in the deaf community because others feel like deaf people are not approachable.
Here. It's the report she wanted last month.
Oh, thank you a lot, Matt.
Ask her if she wants any copies of that.
No, not right now.
Oh, great. Tell her good to see her again.
I think it's very important when speaking to a deaf person to maintain direct contact because the deaf person is used to direct contact,
How'd the meeting go?
which is a part of the deaf culture. When they talk, they speak to each other through their eyes. Speaking face-to-face is the most personal means of communication there is. Someone shouldn't be excluded from that direct contact just because they have a disability. And this is a problem for a lot of people with disabilities, not just those who are deaf.
Are you finished with your plate, ma'am?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Do you think he's finished with his?
Well, I don't know. Why don't you ask him?
Remember, when you meet a person with a disability, keep in mind they're a person, not a thing, but a person.
Commandment number 2. Always offer to shake hands when introduced.
When I approach people, I shake their hands. I think that shaking hand is an important part of greeting someone. In the eastern part of the world, in Asia, it's normal to bow to each other to show respect. And in the West, it's shaking hands. Either way, it's a matter of showing respect. Let's face it, people with disabilities sometimes feel left out on social interactions. Certainly when they feel someone doesn't want to shake their hand, they might feel slighted. People with limited use of their hand or people with artificial limbs can shake hands too. And offering the left hand is also acceptable. People are people. When they meet someone, they want to be able to shake their hand. They want to be able to relate to them on a personal level. I'm sure everyone wants to do that and should be able to express himself.
Commandment number 3. Always identify yourself and others who may be with you when meeting someone who is blind.
In my job, I deal with the same people a lot throughout the week, so I recognize voices. But when there are new people that come into my office, I do need for them to tell me who they are.
Excuse me. Hi, Mary?
Hi.
Yeah, I'm filling in for the next couple of weeks. They said you could get those tapes for me.
Now, which...
Hey, Mary's taking care of it. He'll be back Tuesday. If you could just go ahead and put my name on it.
And
Thanks.
you are...
See, I gotta go.
Gee, I gotta go. Unusual name. Now what? Hello? When people leave the room and don't let you know, it can be really awkward. I know many times I have been left standing talking to the air, and if they would just think a little bit before they do something like that, it would be easier.
Hi, Mary?
Hi.
Yeah, Dave Martin. I'm gonna be filling in for Rick and Pat next week. I understand you can give me those tapes from last week?
Sure, no problem.
Great. Hey, Mary's taking care of it. That was Rick. If you could take care of those tapes and put my name on it, that'd be great.
And that's Dave?
Dave Martin. Thanks. Thanks a lot. Bye now.
Bye, Dave. It's really helpful to let a blind person know what's on the plate and what's on the table.
Thank you. Can I give you a description what's on your plate, Reggie?
Yeah, I'm starved. What does it look like?
Well, your fries are at the 1 o'clock position. They look really good. And then your dill pickle spear is at the 9 o'clock position. And your hamburger is at the 6 o'clock position with the bun right next to it.
The most helpful thing that you can do when talking with a blind person or dining with a blind person is to allow them to be as independent as they would like to be.
Commandment number 4. If you offer assistance, wait until the offer is accepted. Then listen, wait, or ask for instructions.
Everyone has good intentions. It's just how you use those good intentions that makes all the difference.
Oh, here, I can help you with these. This will be no problem.
That'd be
These
good.
look really heavy. Boy, it's a good thing I came along because these are really heavy and you'd have a hard time putting these in your car.
Yeah,
Yeah, these are really heavy. Do you have your keys yet?
Well, that's what
I
I'm
can help
trying
you back
to
your car
find.
out for
I
you.
know. Oh, well, thank you, but this is my car. People with disabilities, they want to feel as independent as possible. And if that is taken away from them, that's really doing a disservice.
Sonny, does your mommy know you're here?
They're fighting to remain independent, so we shouldn't rob them really of that aspect of their lives. So always ask first if they want help and then how they want it. Walk in their shoes.
Commandment number 5. Treat adults as adults.
Sometimes people I work with, sometimes they treat me as a juvenile. They treat me as very immature. I like people who treat me the same way everybody else gets treated, not special, just like everybody else. Sometimes people with disabilities get treated like children. Here's an example.
Hey Julie, I'm sorry I'm late.
That's okay. I don't think she's gonna seat me without a big person.
Would your little friend like a booster seat?
No, her little friend would not like a booster seat, and she would appreciate it if you talked to her next time. Okay?
On the other hand, it's great when someone takes the time to make things easier for someone with a disability.
How are you today? Fine. Good. How can I help you today? I need to make a deposit and check my balance.
Okay. Why don't you step right over to the desk area and I can help you over there.
Thank you. That is much easier.
Address people with disabilities by their first names only when calling everybody else by their first names.
Dr. Smith?
Yes?
Mr. Wilbur is going to be late today and Mrs. Rogers canceled, so I thought maybe we could see Chris today.
Oh, you mean Mr. Clarkson?
You're right, I mean Mr. Clarkson.
Sure. So, Mr. Clarkson, what seems to be the problem today?
Never patronize people in wheelchairs by patting them on their head or shoulder. I pay bills. I work for a living. And last but certainly not least, I pay my share of my taxes. I'm at the point now where I'm 30 and I deserve to be treated as an adult.
Commandment number 6. Do not lean against or hang on someone's wheelchair or cart. Bear in mind that people with disabilities treat their chairs as extensions of their bodies.
One thing that really aggravates me is when somebody goes by me and they might bump into my wheel, and because they haven't bumped into my person physically, they don't feel the need to say, "Excuse me." But that does send a jolt through my body. I've even been to a social function where somebody may put their foot up on my wheel. I said, "Hey, I'm not a coffee table." I have had people lean up against my chair like I'm some kind of a post, and I'm not. And there's sometimes I really wish I could just show them how inconsiderate they're being. Champ really does do a lot of things for me. He can pick up something as small as a dime, or something as important as my TV remote control.
Whether it's a helping dog for somebody in a wheelchair, or whether it's a guide dog for somebody who's blind, you never want to distract a working animal from its job without the owner's permission.
I am a person with a disability. I'm not a disabled person. And I want respect, just like anybody else. And I would appreciate respect for my wheelchair and for my dog also.
Commandment number 7. Listen attentively when talking with people who have difficulty speaking, and wait for them to finish.
Yeah, I know, I'm supposed to be the host of this, but this commandment hits a little close to home for me, so I'm going to be doing this one. I have cerebral palsy, which affects my speech also. I remember times when I tried to call for pizza when I was in college, and they would hang up on me because they thought I was drunk or trying to pull a prank. And if you like pizza as much as I do, that can be a tragedy. All I can say is be patient. Never pretend to understand. Instead, repeat and paraphrase what you understood and allow the person to respond.
I'm sorry, you said you wanted a hamburger?
No, I like a cheeseburger.
Oh, a cheeseburger. Let me go ahead and get this straight. Would you like ketchup, pickles, lettuce and tomatoes? Okay.
If necessary, ask questions that require short answers or a nod of the head. Many say that the more they are around people who have speech difficulties, the easier it is for them to understand what they are saying.
Commandment number 8. Place yourself at eye level when speaking with someone in a wheelchair or on crutches.
Many people don't realize how much time a person in a wheelchair spends looking up at other people. I go to a lot of conferences, public events where it really becomes noticeable. The strain on your neck and your back, it becomes quite uncomfortable and distracting from the conversation. As a co-owner of a van rental service that rents accessible vans for wheelchair users, we come across different people with different disabilities, different behaviors, and when you make an effort to be at eye level with the person, they seem to be more comfortable, more relaxed, and more open with you so that we can get the business at hand conducted. And something else to watch out for is talking to someone in a wheelchair when you're out of their line of sight. It's very difficult to stay in the conversation or focus on it if you're trying to maneuver your chair to catch whoever it is trying to say something to you.
Whew.
Commandment number 9. Tap a person who is deaf on the shoulder or wave your hand to get his or her attention.
This is a well-known situation in the deaf community among all my friends.
Hey, I was just in that last presentation with Irene Ward. That was really, really good. How did you enjoy that one? Hello?
It's important to get the person's attention first.
Hi.
Then look directly at the person, speaking clearly, slowly, and expressively to establish if the person can read lips. If so, try to face the light source and keep hands, cigarettes, and food away from your mouth when speaking. In my own case, since I don't wear a hearing aid or have an interpreter, people may forget that I do have a disability and that I am reading their lips. However, just because a person is using a hearing aid, don't assume they have the ability to discriminate your speaking voice. And don't shout at the person. It doesn't help.
How about you, Shalinda? Did you enjoy it?
Just speak in a normal tone of voice.
I can't believe
And one more thing.
Aren't you glad we...
Well, I wanted to tell you all that the company has just announced the #1 data analyst in the state, and it's our own Shalinda Delaney.
It's good to clap in a visual way when you are with deaf people. It shows your appreciation of a deaf culture.
Commandment number 10. Relax. Don't be embarrassed if you happen to use common expressions that seem to relate to a person's disability.
This last one is so simple. Everyone wanted in on this one. So as I pack up, listen to this.
When people meet me and they see that I use a wheelchair, sometimes they're a bit uncomfortable about saying certain things. For example, running around, hop, skip, and a jump, walking to the park. But really, I see those things as figures of speech and don't make me uncomfortable, so nobody else really needs to be either.
Most people who haven't been with a blind person are afraid to use the word see or look or watch. But after they've been with me for a while, they realize that I say, see you later. I say, did you see the movie last week? I watch TV. When I talk to even another blind person, I may say, look at this, and hand them something that I want them to see. And there I did it myself.
Many people say, listen to this, listen to that. That's okay. It's not related to my deafness. It's just a way of people expressing themselves.
We don't say, here, feel this. We say, here, look at this.
I use terms like running, walking, that sort of thing. And when my husband pushes me in my wheelchair, I don't later tell a friend that he walked and I rolled somewhere. So we've really all got better things to worry about than watching every little thing that we say.
People need to lighten up. It's amazing what it does for the atmosphere, not to mention the efficiency of the workplace. If people are always nervous about every word they say, they end up not communicating. And for persons with disabilities, nothing could be worse than that.
All done communicating?
Almost nothing.
That's a mouthful, isn't it? Even for me.
Cut. Can you get her out of here?
1 minute, please. Simple respect. That's what these commandments are all about. Not treating individuals like children, but like adults who, like everyone else, have different strengths and different needs. You know, we're all different. Some more than others.
There you are. You know, some of my best friends have friends just like you.
Oh, really? So do mine.
Now, I insist on walking you to the bus.
No, thanks. I drove.
All by yourself?
How fast can we get a copy of this video for this woman?
Soon, Mr. Harrington. Real soon.
For me?
Hey, you deserve it.
She wanted some bloopers, remember?
We got some bloopers. Living example of little.
Aye.